Hello everyone, and welcome back to episode 2 of the Rory Excalibur show. Today, our visual aid of choice for the attention impaired is Doom for Windows 98. And so as per the video title, today we'll be talking about, is she worth it? Now, this has been a very prevalent topic in my life as of recently. I'm sure you might remember how in the last episode I was talking about how I've been talking to this girl recently and she hasn't talked to me in what has now been a week. And things were going really well beforehand, but now they've all fallen off. And this time that I've now had to myself to think and reflect and, think about myself and what I want to do moving forward, it's been very mixed. It's been a very mixed bag of thoughts and emotions and thinking about what to do next, right? And so that's the primary topic of today's video. And so, in most cases, it's a here or there sort of thing, Most people just go, just move on. Forget about it, just move on. Greener pastures, fish in the sea, you've heard it a million times, yada yada yada, right? But it isn't always that easy, is it, right? It's not that easy. At least for myself, once I'm attached, I'm like a fly on the wall. I'm not leaving, unless I get swatted away. And that's what I sort of want to roll into with this sort of subtopic, which is the mental health, or rather the mental damage that comes with choosing to stay, right? Choosing to wait, choosing to continue putting yourself through this whole rigmarole, right? And everyone around me has said, just move on. Move on, it's not worth it, wrap it up, right? But I can't. I just can't. I just cannot let it go. And there's a certain solace that comes with that. There's a certain almost mission with a goal that comes with that, They say that, love is waiting. It's when the person's not there, that's when the love really comes out, right? It's the yearning for somebody that is the true love. And I mean, any person realistically would be like, that's stupid, myself included, it's like, sure you can love something when it's not there, but the love feels infinitely more better and reciprocated when they are there, And so, it's like I'm on both sides of the fence. It's like, realistically, I can understand that that's kind of a cope, a bit of a cope, but in some ways it's also true. It's a double-edged sword, right? And that reminds me of this quote from Bob Marley, which, if it wasn't for this quote, I probably would have moved on much easily, but it says this, and I quote, and I'm going to be reading this somewhat directly. It says, "If she's amazing, she won't be easy. If she's easy, she won't be amazing. And if she's worth it, you won't give up. But if you give up, you're not worthy. Truth is, everybody's going to hurt you. You just got to find the ones worth suffering for." Now that is pretty grim, isn't it? Everybody's going to hurt you. I mean, that's true to some extent. Whether someone hurts you when they depart from Earth, when they pass away, or, if they leave you in some sort of big blow up or whatever. But that generally is the case, it's not the most positive thing, but it is the case. Sometimes that's just how it is. And it's this quote that has made me think, is there some kind of beauty in the yearning? In trying to tackle something that isn't easy, someone that isn't easy. And I believe there is, to an extent, of course. Where that line is, though, is a different story, right? Because I feel like there's a certain level of mental bashing that you can do to yourself until it gets too far, until it becomes too destructive and it, blows up in your face, or, ruins you, right? And so, is your health worth it? Well, of course, it's up to the individual. Some people are more stable and secure than others, and that's just, a fact of life. For myself personally, as I said last time, I've realized that I'm very much an anxious person, very much an anxiously attached person to everything in my life. And I've been trying to spin that narrative. I've been trying to, turn that around and change that, right? And so far, things have been going well. It's been a week where I haven't talked to this person, and granted, I feel like I want to break that no contact every single day, but I don't. And I'm diligent to myself and to others, to hold myself to the responsibility to not do that, because I can stop myself and recognize, why do I want to do this? And pretty much it's always because of anxiety. It's always because I'm feeling anxious. I'm like, oh, but what ifs and what ifs and what if that and everything, But I stop myself. I slow down and I recognize, it's just a wave of anxiety. It'll pass. And I know that if I did reach out prematurely, that it would almost guarantee blow up in my face and go poorly, But as much as I can parade trying to be good to myself and to others, I would be lying if I said it wasn't damning on my health. There's, for someone that is a pretty anxious person, there's a certain level of dread, that comes with uncertainty. And I talked about this last time, so I'll keep it brief, but the dread of uncertainty is agonizing. The thought of wasted time is agonizing. Thinking about, if I'm waiting for this person and it doesn't work out, I wasted all this time thinking and waiting and, all this crap, right? And it's, as much as I would love to pretend that it's not affecting me, it obviously is, and I wish that wasn't the case. I'm trying to, implement strategies to mitigate that. But often, I'll find myself scrolling through TikTok or Instagram Reels or, something like that, and my thumb is, metaphorically shaking over the send button, because I see something that I'm like, oh, this person, I know, this person that I'm talking to, I know they would love this video or this reel or whatever, make them laugh, or they'd find it interesting. But I know I cannot send it to them. I don't allow myself to send it to them. Right? Instead, just like everybody else, I hit the save button and I think, well, I'll show them later. I'll show them next time when I see them. And that builds an expectation of seeing them, It builds an expectation that there will be a time when you do. And the reality is, of course, that that's not set in stone. And let's just say in the case scenario where things don't work out, you're scrolling through your saved videos and you find a video that you saved just for them. And that wave comes over you and it just crushes you. The realizing that the person you were when you saved that video, the hope that you had when you saved that video is gone, crushed, and now is water under the bridge. It's agony, you know? Even something small like that, you know, something realistically in the large scope of things is insignificant and relatively stupid. You know, TikTok, who cares, right? But the reality is the emotion of it is, you know, it's agony, it's agonizing. And so, this burden of possibility, you know, this burden of chance and possibility is crushing. You know, and it weighs on the mental health. And so that's what I'm talking about today, is this double-edged sword, this catch-22, where it's like, sure, you can say there's a beauty in yearning and waiting and, you know, XYZ, but also it's crushing, it's damning, and it's just agonizing. And like, sure, you could equate that, you could say like, oh well, that just makes it even more beautiful, because let's say you do get them back and all that raw emotion and all of that, you know, pain was worth it. You know, it was worth it, and it funneled into, you know, what eventually might become a healthy relationship. Or if it doesn't, right? What if all the pain was for nothing? And all you did for several weeks, or maybe even months, was torture yourself. Mentally, doing all the gymnastics you can, you know, on end. For nothing. Did you learn anything? I doubt it. Maybe you learnt to not do that again. But did you gain anything? No. No, you're just back at square one again. So, it's a risk-reward, you know, situation. And, you know, it's like betting all on black. It's like, you either win it or you don't. You lose everything or you win everything. And, but, you know, for someone like myself, who is anxious, I don't like those odds, you know? I don't like those odds one bit. But you know what I'm going to do? Still going to go all in. I'm still going to go all in, because I would be remiss not to. You know, you always hear this thing where it's like, people at the end, towards the ends of their life, their main regret is all the things they didn't do, all the things they didn't say, all the chances they didn't take. And, you know, I believe that, you know, to be true as well. And so I don't want to live a life of regrets like that, you know. I want to seize every opportunity I can, even if it doesn't work out. And I know that with that comes a lot of pain, you know, a lot of mistreatment by others and to oneself. But I think the final beauty is the pain that comes with that, you know, because there's a certain level of beauty in amassing enough courage in oneself to put themselves through such a gauntlet, you know, a gauntlet that might reward, you know, the fruits of labor, and the next day make it all come crashing down. And so all I can say is watch me. Watch me try. You know, flipping this coin could land good or bad, but I'll try. Because what's my other option, you know? Also, I just realised it's just switched to the screensaver. I'll try and get that back. Oh, looks like Doom crashed. You're just going to be stuck with the desktop for now. And so, oh no, here, you know, I'll do you all a favour. We'll get it running again. There we go. And so, yeah, because what's my other option, right? Let's just say with this person, I stop talking to this person. I say I'm gonna respect my own dignity and cut this person off. Well, where am I now? Well, I'm back at square one. I guess I'm gonna go through the trenches again and try and find someone else. But on the other side of that coin, if I was, you know, to try and still pursue this person, what are the two outcomes? It either works, or I get set back to square one. So, you'd think it would be a fool's errand to not take that opportunity, because not taking it means you've already failed. You know, you're already back at square one. I might as well just text this person saying I hate you and I never want to talk to you again. And it'll have the same effect as if I did nothing. You know, the only difference, of course, is if I were to, you know, try and pursue this person, I could go through a lot of pain, emotional pain. I know they say time heals all wounds, but I wouldn't say that. I think, you know, time only dulls wounds. It never heals, you know, scars exist. And so, that's where I'm at. That's the predicament I'm in. And only time will tell its outcome. Maybe everything I've just said now is completely wrong. Maybe, let's just say, it turns out negatively and I say, man, I wish I never did that. I wish I never even bothered. You know, I wish that I just left it so I don't have to feel the pain I'm feeling right now. Or alternatively, things could work out and I go, man, I'm so glad that I did that. I think, like I said, only time will tell. And boy, does time like to take its time telling. And so with that, I'll leave this episode here. If you have any suggestions for what you would like the visual aid to be for next episode, leave a comment. I've still been trying to get the computer working. It's been giving me all sorts of fun little issues. If I have to install Windows XP one more time, I might punch a hole through this monitor right here. But I do have some other gameplay lined up that I'm planning to put on there. I won't spoil it just yet, but it's coming, trust me. And yeah, so with that, I hope maybe my ramblings might have, you know, perhaps opened your eyes. I don't know, and frankly, that's up to you. And so with that, my friends, we'll see how everything goes. Onwards and upwards. I'll see you all next time.